Now, the Supreme Court has overturned a ruling that could have seen millions of drivers compensated for being missold car finance. It's a bit of a blow for drivers, but not a complete win for British banks either. Let's remind you what Supreme Court President Lord Reid had to say earlier today.
For the reasons set out in detail in a judgment published today, the Supreme Court allows the appeals brought by the finance companies. However, we uphold Mr. Johnson's claim that the relationship between him and the finance company was unfair, and we allow the appeal in his case only because the Court of Appeal made a number of mistakes in reaching its decision. Retaking the decision on a proper basis, we award him the amount of the commission plus interest. The other customers' claims are rejected.
Let's speak now to Sam Ward, who's Managing Director and Chief Investigator at Sentinel Legal. Good to see you. It's not clear-cut, this, then, is it? Because it sounds like it's bad news for drivers, but you don't think that's necessarily the case?
No, not at all. I think consumers now have a Supreme Court-endorsed roadmap under the Consumer Credit Act. The court today ruled that Mr. Johnson's agreement was unfair under Section 140 of the Consumer Credit Act because the commission was very high. In Mr. Johnson's case, it was 55% of the total amount of credit charged. It was not disclosed properly, and the lender's tie to the broker was actively concealed.
Yeah, just to remind people who he is, Mr. Johnson, and exactly what he was buying and what he was charged.
Absolutely. So Mr. Johnson was your everyday consumer. He was financially unsophisticated. He was presented with a terms document that highlighted the agreement that he was entering into with the finance house. And within that document, the court said that he was not financially savvy enough to understand what he was entering into, so therefore the breaches of conc were unfair, which was the FCA's consumer handbook.
And a lot of this is to do with people being lent money but not clearly being told that the people doing the lending get commission on doing that lending.
Absolutely, yeah. So the FCA have something called CONC, which is a rule book which all lenders have to follow. And there's a section 4.5.3, which is in relation to the disclosure of commission. And it says where a firm is aware that a commission may be payable and the existence of the amount of that commission could affect the customer's decision, the firm must disclose to the customer in good time. And in Mr. Johnson's case, it wasn't disclosed, it was actively concealed, and that created an unfair relationship under the Consumer Credit Act. So this isn't the doom and gloom that is currently being presented to UK car drivers. It's actually the opposite. We've now got a cast iron Supreme Court judgment that paves the way for justice to millions of consumers.
Something else leaps out from what we just heard Lord Reid say earlier today. The Court of Appeal made mistakes. That doesn't sound very good, does it?
It doesn't, no, but I suppose that's why we have the hierarchy of the courts. The court, what Lord Reid was referring to there was the bribery elements in Hopcraft and Wrench and the fiduciary duty that's being held. And the bribery argument was a very attractive argument. It was legally ambitious, but it isn't the bedrock of what has gone wrong here. And what the bedrock of all of these claims that have been over the last 5 years has been the non-disclosure of the commission, and that is what the Supreme Court has upheld today, that there's an unfair relationship because the client wasn't properly informed and the lender's tie to the broker was actively concealed. So it's a massive win for consumers.
Sam, it's easy to get bogged down in the sort of legalese and the technical elements of this. The banks were nervous about this. They brought this case and ultimately they've won a lot of it. Their argument has been supported by the Supreme Court, but they were putting billions to one side to potentially pay out. The others who were nervous about this were the government and the Treasury. They put out a statement saying they respect the decision, they're going to look at it and change things around the Ombudsman and everything else. But if it had gone the other way, well, it would have brought lending into question potentially, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, the non-disclosure of commission is at the heart of what we're talking about now. So anything that is being sold, a finance product, a mortgage, insurance, etc., anything that contains a commission that is not actively disclosed to the client, or the lender-broker relationship is actively concealed, which was the case in Mr. Johnson, it would have brought all of those into question, yes.
So just to finish off, you're optimistic that things are going to change now. What does happen next? Because we know this is not the end of it in terms of cases like this being pursued.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today, obviously, it's not a minor win at all. It's a precedent-setting judgment from the UK's highest court. And what will happen from Monday is consumer-focused law firms such as Sentinel Legal will be contacting our clients. We'll be letting them know the exact state of play of all of their agreements. We'll be separating the ones that we think have got strong prospects, and we'll be contacting them and letting them know how we will be progressing their cases through the courts of the UK, because we now have the Supreme Court on our side with this binding precedent.
So, Sam, just final word. It sounds like you're saying to other drivers who've bought cars this way, still keep an eye on things.
Absolutely. Still keep an eye on things. If you've got copies of your terms and conditions, keep hold of them. If you haven't, you can write to your lender and ask for a copy of them. You can file your complaint with the lender, but this is not doom and gloom. This is a huge win for UK drivers, and it should be thought of as such.
Sam Ward from Sentinel Legal. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.